Hi guys, it's Tim from the Mark 2 Golf channel and welcome. So tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We've got a live stream on this bank holiday weekend. So I'd like to welcome you along. We've got a couple of special guests to join me this evening. So don't worry, it's not just going to be me talking. So we've got Chris, who is the founder, the guy who runs the Mark 2 Owners Club. We've got Chris and we've got Shelley, who run the Mark 2 Owners Club, and Chris has agreed to join us tonight for a bit of a chat to talk about Mark 2s and really how things are going. We've basically got Dave as well. So Dave is Monkey on the forum. So Dave and Chris, are you guys with me?
Afternoon.
Dave, hello mate. Chris, are you there?
I am, young sir. How are you?
Chris, yeah, really good, thanks, really good. So guys, thanks for joining me. So as we were talking a little bit before, so I'm been with the Mark 2 Golf Owners Club for probably about 10 years now. And obviously Chris set up the Mark 2 Owners Club, and Dave, you've probably been with the Mark 2 Owners Club just as long, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I think we were there nearly when it kicked off.
Yeah, probably a bit longer. So so I guess kind of for those who don't know, at the start of every month, there's the Bristol meet. So it's the first Friday of every month at the Toby Carvery. Obviously, with the current situation, we can't hold it. So I thought we'd get the guys together and just talk just about what we'd normally talk about on that Friday meet. So I want to get started just quickly. So, I mean, Chris, I mean, what got you into Mark 2s in the first place?
Well, it's a bit of a weird one, actually, because my dad was always into his old VWs, and my first VW was my dad's old Volkswagen Beetle. But at the time, I was getting a Volkswagen Motoring magazine, and I was always interested in the Mark 1 Golf GTIs and the Mark 2 Golf GTIs. So for me, they were the pinnacle, and they were fast.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into them. Although I actually didn't get my first Golf GTI until I started the club. When I got an Oak Green 16 valve, and that was a complete revelation. The performance was just absolutely mind-blowing compared to the GL that I was used to and the CLs and things like that.
And I guess that's where your username on the forum comes from, which is Oak Green 16 valve.
Even though I don't actually own an Oak Green 16 valve anymore.
No, you don't. So so we've got here, this is your current Mark 2.
Yeah, so that's an 8 valve. That's an Alpine White 8 valve. It's as you know, a big bumper. And it's got a tidy black leather interior. Yeah. And it's relatively standard as well, because as Tim knows, I've always been fairly OEM, and that ticked all the boxes for me. And I actually got that for Shelley. That's Shelley's car.
I was going to say, so whose Golf actually is that?
That's technically Shelley's.
Okay, so you run the club, technically don't have a Mark 2.
Basically, you're saying you're a fraud.
Yeah, well,
no, well, it's in the family, so I suppose that's a technicality, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So, so I guess, Dave, you've always got, in my opinion, a really well put together Mark 2. So, so what have you currently got?
My current one is a bright blue metallic 8 valve I bought, and then proceeded to tear apart. And throw a 3.2 litre into the bonnet. Now,
I'm guessing on the screen now that's your current Mark 2.
It is, yeah.
Brilliant, I got it right. So obviously...
Yeah, I do have a bit of a problem with Mark 2s. I am on my 10th one.
And how many bright blue metallics have you had?
3.
3. So again, you know, you've kind of gone through your own fair share. So tell us a bit about that car. So what have you done to it?
So I bought it, oh crikey, about 3.5 years ago as a 900 quid wreck off someone's drive. And yeah, I always knew I was going to put a 3.2 in it. It was the idea. I've done a fair few engine conversions in the past. I've done 2 litre 8 valve, 16 valve, G60, 2.8, 2.9 VR6s, done a 20 valve. And I kind of fancied we actually put a 32 motor in my mate's Bora, and I love the way that went. And I really fancied that in a Mark II. I thought that'd be perfect. So yeah, I bought that thing for 900 quid. Then got a stone recovered TT and ended up ripping it apart and chucking the engine in.
Yeah. So 900 quid. Oh, how long ago did you say you bought that?
About 3.5 years ago.
Like when you could still buy a cheap Mark II GTI, I guess.
It was 4 days before Christmas, so I think the guy just wanted to shift it on. And it was a bit ropey. It was honest, but it was a bit ropey.
So I guess, obviously, as you guys all know, and for the people who've been watching the channel, my current daily is a 1984 Jetta Coupe, and then obviously, in the latest video, we've gone through a couple of other cars that we're working on at the moment. So we've got my Tractoid that I kind of bought on a whim, and obviously there's Sam's Mark II there as well. So Sam helps out massively. Really good friend of mine, does a lot of work. Basically, all the oily bits that I struggle with, Sam is definitely the go-to guy for that. So, I think looking at it, obviously, it's been 10 years now since I joined the club, and probably a little bit longer for you, Dave. Chris, when did the club actually start?
2008.
2008. Okay,
yeah.
God. So there you go. So I guess I've just outed myself live to everyone that I am not one of the original members. So
you are an early member, though.
I sneaked in when we had the forum refresh. I kind of jumped in nice and early and set myself up with one of the first usernames or user accounts on the new forum. So speaking of which,
007,
Chris,
yeah, 10007, yeah, that's right.
So Chris, I believe we've got we've had an update to the forum today, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, what's happening at the moment is the forum is getting a reboot effectively because the software that we're using, the PHP software, it's not going to take many more updates. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it. We're literally, Jelly's literally spending hours and hours every day just moving everything over to the new forum.
Brilliant.
Which is, a huge database for anything technical. And you've got the members' rights on there. You've got all the event information. So, for example, one of our members, Baz, he organises a lot of the northern meets and puts pictures up on there. You put your name down on the list if you want to be on the club stand because we've got let's just say it's not elitist on the club. Any single member, regardless of the condition of the car, is a part of the club and can put the car on the stand. So we very actively involve people within the club and within the show team.
So speaking of actively including people, we've got a late arrival, Martin.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello. Thanks for joining us, Martin.
Apologies for being late.
No, that's fine, mate. That's absolutely fine. So, guys, we've also got Martin from Wild Chuff Media, or I want to say Eurocartel. Martin, am I right?
Yes, right.
Yes. So, Martin, it's great to have you along. Obviously, Martin's got a bit of a unique perspective because for those of you who don't know, Martin does a lot of photography for a lot of the magazines out there, not just Volkswagen, so across a lot of Jap stuff and a lot of retro Jap stuff, which is kind of cool, as well as a load of buses and everything else. So it's great to have you along, Martin. So I guess just catching up. So Martin's current car, Martin, what have you currently got? What's your current Mark II?
Mark II Jetta GTI, 16 valve.
And how long have you had that one for?
7 years now.
Yeah, 7 years. And you've obviously done quite a lot to it in that time. So here it is on the screen.
Yeah, I have. Everything, pretty much. So Mark II life and all that. So yeah, full bottom up engine build. Stuck with the 16 valve KR. Full gearbox build. Full respray, bare metal respray, everything cut out that needed to be cut out and replaced.
Yeah.
The only thing left to do really is the running gear. I didn't want to put freshly painted or powder coated running gear on before I did the respray for fear of getting overspray on it. So I left the kind of surface rusty stuff on there. Solid, passes MOT, but it's not. It needs to be as nice underneath as it is on top. So that's the next job. I would be doing it in lockdown if I had the bits.
Yeah.
Or I have most of the bits, but they're not they're not stripped and powder coated, so I can't build it up at the moment. But yeah, next is the underside.
So obviously, I met Martin last year at the Mark II Owners Club National Meet. So that picture was a picture I actually took off Martin's car in the show and shine on the day. Now, I didn't know that I'd actually seen Martin's car at a load of shows before. And again, if you've been around some of the show scenes, you probably have seen Martin's car not looking like that, but looking like that. So, Martin, big fan of that.
Yeah, the Marlboro phase. Yeah,
stickers do make cars go faster, in my opinion, and that's got a lot of stickers. So no, fair play. So yeah, I remember seeing that car at GTI International. I think it was the last one at Rockingham.
Yeah, 2018. No, sorry, 17.
Yeah,
17.
actually, so it might have been. So it wasn't the last one; it was the one before. Yeah, because it's when we had all the cars in the middle, wasn't it?
Yeah, so 18, it was actually in the body shop having the respray. So I took my daily, but 17, it was there. Came runner up in its Jetta class, even with a wrap on it. But the wrap was kind of a temporary thing just to cover up the paint I wasn't happy with. Also. Yeah,
no, big fan of that. I mean, obviously, I'm a massive fan of Jettas myself, anyway. So, guys, I think just looking at it, I think it'd be fun just to kind of have a look at some of the cars that we've had, and kind of the cars I remember you guys are having. So it's like I said, Chris, we've known each other for 10 years now, and the first car that you had that I remember you sit in, so the first Mark II was a little Mark II that looked something like this. So talk us through that car, Chris.
Well, that was quite a special car, actually. That was it was originally a G60, so it was an original left-hand drive G60, but it had a lot of work done on it. That was running a 20-valve turbo out of well, it was pushing about 270 brake horsepower. Actually, it was very rapid, and it had quite a famous, let's call it a berry interior, although some people say it was pink, MJ leather interior, which was really quite nice, and sat on a set of nice BBS RSs. So that was actually quite a special car, and it's still in the club as well.
So I took these pictures at the National. So this is kind of the first time I remember seeing you in a Mark II Golf. I don't think I actually saw your Oak Green 16 valve until I actually saw it in your garage.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Oak Green had a little bit of an engine problem, and that was off the road for a bit, and I was tanking around in that for quite some time.
So I think, Dave, you'll agree, there is one car that Chris was famous for pretty much at most shows that we went to. So Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of, distinct styling with that. I mean, you can't go wrong with French, apparently.
Well, I don't know about that. So Dave.
Actually, can I just say though, actually, that car was sold and ended up going to the Lebanon.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's probably got a heavy machine gun slung out the back of it now.
So Dave, this is the car that you had when I remember meeting you. So I think we'd met a couple of times, possibly at the Gloucester meet, at the at the Toby Carvery in Gloucester, just off that main road. But then it was dark, it was cold, and then kind of a couple of months went by, and then we had the Western Beach barbecue, and so Dave, talk us through this one.
Yeah, that's one. Isn't that your Jetta behind it as well?
It is. Yes, good spot. That's that.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Now that was when I bought off of someone's driveway for 300 quid. Hadn't run for about 3 years. It was a driver originally, and I knew I wanted to do something because I'd been without a Mark II Golf for about 6 months at that point, and decided I wanted another one. So I picked that one up off someone's driveway that I'd driven past a couple of times. Ended up offering him 300 quid for it, and picked it up. Got it trailered home. Within 24 hours, I'd pulled the engine out on it, and I sat and waited, and then I heard someone crash the Corrado, and ended up picking the Corrado up and doing a whole chassis swap on it, basically.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't just the chassis, was it?
It was literally everything. So someone on one of the forums said, "Why didn't you put the dashboard in with your Corrado?" That's a good idea. How hard can that be? Yeah, it turned out pretty difficult.
So yeah, I think it was. I mean, I was always impressed with that car. It was super clean, and again, in typical Dave fashion, I think you'd only just finished putting it together, hadn't you? Or you'd done some major work just before coming to that big barbecue.
That's right. Yeah, I've just put all the inlet manifold and all that back on it literally that morning.
Dave has a bit of a habit of doing everything last minute, and it's not just little jobs either, is it, Dave?
I have done a couple of couple of late nighters. There's photos somewhere of me putting a head back on my old Corrado G60 about 2 days before the first Ultimate Dubs in the snow.
Yeah.
There's one.
So what was so I guess what was your first Mark II then, Dave?
The first Mark II was a little 1.6 driver I had when I was about 19.
Yeah.
Really fancied it. Always wanted a Golf. At the time, my parents would never let me have a GTI. To be honest, I don't think insurance would have let me have it at that age either. but yeah, it was a little 1.6 driver I had, and yeah, after smacking it up, I ended up having a load of bodywork done, getting it nice and tidy. I think it was about like stereo in it, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Done the whole Weber carb, 4-branch manifold, GTI exhaust, that sort of thing. I knew I'd always get a GTI, so all the mods I'd done, I based around the fact is that I could take it straight off of a driver and bang it straight into a GTI, and that's what I'd done in the end. All the suspension, the wheels, that whole thing. I remember my first GTI I bought. I insured it as standard and drove it as standard for about 24 hours.
So I guess how long did you have that first one for?
The first one I have about 1.5 years, I think.
And how much did you buy it for?
Oh crikey! This before the bottom fell out of used cars, so I bought it for £2,700. And
wow!
6 months later, they started releasing cars twice a year.
Yeah.
And I started seeing cars almost identical to mine for about £900.
Wow! That was a kick in the teeth.
Livid, yeah.
So Chris, you mentioned your first Mark. So what was your first Mark II, Chris?
My first Mark II was 1984 1.6 GL in Stratos blue.
Yeah.
Which was quite a nice car, actually. It was pretty rapid. I think it was 90 brake horsepower.
Yeah. And how much did you pay for that one back in the day?
Well, it was 1993, so I think it was about £2,000.
Yeah. That's not bad. And how much did you sell it for in the end? How long did you have it for?
I think it got robbed when I was at uni. No, actually, it got broken into when I was at uni, and then it put me off a little bit, and I flogged it for a few £100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bit of a nightmare.
So I'm not doing very well on that one.
No. And Martin, what about you? What was your first Mark II?
The Jetta.
Oh, wow.
The Jetta is my first Mark II. I've had pretty much everything else from the Vag stable at some point. But yeah, my first Mark II is definitely the Jetta.
So, and obviously you've kind of kept it ever since.
Yeah, I won't sell it now. It's not worth it.
So I too can make that claim, guys. So I actually still currently own my first Mark II. So I bought it in 2001 for £700. I originally swapped it with a mate, my Escort RS Turbo that had a leaky radiator. And he was just like, no, mate, I can't run this. It's too juicy. And I really wanted the Mark II. So I was like, say, how much do you want for it? And I just gave him the £700 for it. So in 2001, I bought this, a black 1985 Mark II 8-valve GTI. But it's an RE 2000. So it's got GTI Engineering 2-litre 8-valve engine conversion in it, along with the GTI Engineering Aerotech body kit as well. Now I actually still own that car. I had it stolen one year, and then I think it was my 23rd birthday. It had been missing for about 4 months. Never thought I'd see it again. It was only it was off the road at the time as well, so it wasn't insured. So I just thought, I'm never going to see it again. I gave £700 for it. It's not the end of the world. But then on my birthday, I got a call, and the police said, yeah, we found your car 40 miles away in Newbury. Oh. So I had to pay the storage, had to pay for a transport back to Swindon. but I got it back, and it now kind of lives underneath a car cover, really, really needing some work. So maybe one day I will get it out and put it back together properly. But I guess time will tell. But like you, Martin, I will probably be buried in that car. You know, I honestly can't see me selling it. I've had it longer than the wife. So generally, that's a car that I would love to get back on the road. I'll never sell it, and I'm sure one day I will make that happen. So it's kind of been a bit of a love-hate relationship with that car, because I've gone through so much with it. But you know, now it's tucked away behind a whole host of other projects. It needs an absolute boatload of cash spent on it, and I've got way too many cars. So I will get around to it. So I guess looking at what we've got. So we were talking just before we came on tonight about some car shows. So we had Ultimate Doves in Salford, which I went to. I really enjoyed that show, and I think it was a big step up from some of the shows the year before. So have you guys been to Ultimate Doves recently, or?
A few years ago, actually, and it's nice to hear that it's changed a little bit. I mean, it's a good show, but it's been very samey for quite a few years now. But I think you were saying that it's upped its game a little bit.
Yeah, I was impressed this year. I think, you know, there was a lot more older Volkswagens. Now there was the usual sort of finance Audi A1s. No, I give it stiff, but you know, there was a lot of A1s. But I guess it's an easy way to get into the scene. I mean, there were 250 quid a month on finance for an S-Line with leather wheels, whatever. So stick some wheels on it, stick some suspension, and you've got a nice little car that you can be proud of. So I get why they're so popular. But there was a lot more sort of classic Volkswagens there. So the Mark 1 Owners Club had a stand, which I actually missed, and someone commented on one of my videos, but I didn't actually cover the Mark 1 Owners Club stand, but I didn't see it because it was tucked away behind one of the show halls. So you had to go through the hall and out the main entrance and out the other side. And basically the Mark 1 Owners Club was mainly around there, made up mostly of convertibles and caddy pickups. But yeah, it was a really good show, actually. There was the obvious Muppets that you kind of get, you know, trying to sort of...
Any Datsun trucks this year?
What's that, sorry?
Any Datsun trucks this year and things like that?
No.
Well,
I mean...
Any Corsas?
No, didn't see any Corsas.
Definite improvement then.
No Nissan Micras either. So I guess, Martin, you kind of get to your fair share of shows. Yeah, how do you feel kind of car shows are now compared to like 7 years ago when you got the Jetta?
So I'm sort of leaning more towards the retro stuff, to be honest, at the moment. Personally, indoor shows, there tends to be a bit, no matter how hard they do try to do it fairly, etc. There still always has a feel of if you know the right people, no matter what car you're in, if you know the right people, you'll get in the right places and all that kind of stuff. And that's just not really what I'm about, to be honest. I have been to Ultimate Dub several times. I didn't go this year, so it's good to hear that, you know, things are different a little bit on that. But yeah, I tend to stick. Well, mostly the retro stuff and retro rides weekender and retro ride gathering. And obviously, Inters was always a big favourite of mine. We had as a club, as in the club that I run, we always had a big presence at Inters, and I ran a couple of the events at Inters a few times. And that was always a big one. So I was really gutted to see that that's gone. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I loved Inters. It was one of my favourite shows of the year.
Yeah. And been to been to lots of different venues.
It's the one that started it all off as well, isn't it?
Yeah, all of them had their own, you know, charm about them in different ways. Some preferred some venues to others, but it's just a real shame that it's gone, I feel.
Yeah, Inters had it's one of the memories that'll always stick with me. It was one of the first years, I think it was either 98 or 99. I went to it. I just remember coming over the brow of this hill and just seeing literally a sea of Mark II and Mark III Golfs, because they were what was hot at the time. I think there was one Mark IV in the whole lot, and people were staring at it because it was brand new. That's the sort of era we were looking at. And it was just literally Mark II Golfs as far as the eye could see.
I think Inters was the first big. Inters was the first big show I went to, and I think I've been spoiled because I kind of I say I judge every show on that experience, and I've never really felt it since. But I remember it was at the TRL in Bracknell, just coming off the sort of dual carriageway under the bridge and joining the main road into Bracknell. And like you say, like Dave, it's an absolute sea of Mark 1s, Mark 2s, Mark 3s, big exhausts, big wheels, big stereos, bright colours. Mate, you know what? For me, just that is my memory. My first memory of a car show is actually not even being at Inters. It was actually driving to it, and that sort of convoy and sort of thing is kind of, I think, it's missing from car shows these days. And maybe it's
you used to get within 20 miles of a car show, and all you'd see is Volkswagens. It was, and everybody would say hello to each other. Everybody used to leave, and maybe a quick race on the dual carriageway up to.
And that's what it's all about as well, isn't it? It's that sort of camaraderie. It's kind of like club spirit. It's about loving your cars and getting together and enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for me, there's still some good shows out there. I mean, Martin, you go to a lot of the retro shows, and I generally, that's my kind of thing as well, is the old cars. So, I mean, which for you, other than retro rides, are probably the best shows if you want to go to a show and see some cool old cars?
So I do like the retro rides weekender at Goodwood, and also the gathering at Chelsea Walsh Hill Climb, because that's another slightly different event, something to watch, some crazy stuff, and normally some quite good guest cars as well. Some lunatics, in a steel bath strapped to a V8 driving up a hill in rain and that sort of stuff, which is always a good laugh. But yeah, there's some other shows which kind of have a good mix. So Players Classic is a favourite of mine. Again, it's a Goodwood, it's a nice venue, but they do have a lot of older stuff as well come across, and they have quite a lot of stuff come across from Europe, which is quite nice, seeing lots of different Mark 2s, Mark 1s and stuff that have been modified in Europe coming over for that event. That's quite a good one. So yeah, I go to quite a lot. I do tend to stay near the older stuff, or a mixture, shows that offer a mixture more so than all the newer stuff. I guess I grew up on Max Power, so I kind of miss some of the really heavy modified stuff. And I know it's seen as very cheesy nowadays and all that stuff, but yeah, it's I still like to see some of that when it's done right. Not just, of course, with rip speed stickers all over it, but something that's actually had some time put into the build, and appreciate how much gone into it. So
some of those Max Power cars had a lot of effort into them.
Yeah, and like say,
they're
considered cheesy now in some ways, but yeah, there's a lot of effort and gone into them.
There's a lot of groups nowadays, like Max Power groups coming back up. I've noticed.
But it's kind of retro cool as well, isn't it? I mean, we're talking about early 90s, wasn't it, when Max Power got set up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was a huge era back then. I mean, it was, if you remember, it was the Nova XRs and Renault 5 GT turbos and Mark II Golfs. It was just, that's what you wanted when you're at school and college.
Yeah, that's the era the Mark II came from.
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess, I mean, that kind of brings us on nicely to kind of what I was thinking about. So, I mean, looking back, why do you think we look back at the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, and really kind of, a lot of people put it down. What do you think it is? I mean, if we look at some of the cars from back in the era, right? So again, I mean, it's a Renault 5, and yeah, it was an Ali G, but actually not a load of work went into that car. And then this one for me is kind of an absolute favourite. So this is a Skeet Renault 5 GT Turbo. Again, I think that the late 90s were all about those wide arches, and so for me, I mean, if you look at how much work went into that car and how much money they spent, like you say, like Martin was saying, that's a huge amount of work that's gone into that. That's a built car, and then we've got this one, Thoughts.
Wow.
Ouch.
Is that a Carlton?
That's a Vauxhall Cavalier, isn't it?
No, that's a Carlton.
That is a Carlton, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a Carlton. Yeah, obviously, double-decker spoilers, Larry paintwork, 3-spoke and Terra alloys. Again, that was what everyone wanted back then,
Not everyone. Tim, seriously, not everyone wanted that back then. No, definitely not that.
I think your question about why did everyone look back at it now, I guess it's kind of for me, that friend and I used to go to Western Wheels in the Western Supermare religiously.
Yeah.
Mental cars turning up, lots of people, rave tent, all the other stuff that goes with that. Absolutely mental event bender for a couple of days on the weekend. And that same friend and I actually were going to run an event in Western this year to kind of bring back a bit of that vibe and hopefully get some of the max power cars that are stuck in barns and sheds and stuff or gardens, fields, whatever. Try and get some of those out again just to see the ones that have survived, really. But for me, it's more about there seem to be a lot more hands-on modifying yourself, spending weeks in your garage to then go out and show someone, because you're not putting it all over the internet. And when you go to a meet now, if you've put it all over your Instagram and your forum and stuff, everyone's already seen it, kind of thing. Whereas back then you were doing it all in your garage, and the time, until you go down to the car park on a Saturday night, or you go to a meet or whatever, that's when they first get eyes on what you've been working on for the last however long. And there weren't so many companies out there that would do the modifying for you. There's always been companies that supply tuning bits and wheels and accessories and exhaust and all the stuff. But there weren't so many companies that would build it for you, if you like. Whereas now, a lot of people, I don't want it to turn into old man's club, but a lot of the younger lads, ladies, take a car, like you said, take it to a company, stick some air on it, stick some wheels on it, and then that's the build done. Maybe they didn't do that so much. It's just the way things are now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but that's why I always look back and think I know a lot of effort's gone into that. That Carlton, even though it looks like a big cheesy banana, there was a hell of a lot of work gone into that car, whether you like the car or not.
Yeah. So I guess looking at the pink Mark II, Chris, you love pink Mark IIs. So again, looking at this car, do we like it? What are our thoughts?
It's not my sort of thing, but it's pretty cool from back in the era, though, isn't it? I mean, if you ask me, the Alpine white behind it looks much nicer.
So for me, this was the car that got me into the Mark II seat. So this picture was taken at GT International at Broughton. I think that was 2001. We had it here for 1 year. I wish it would come back because it's at the top of the hill where I live now. But this was, like you say, Martin, this was built by a friend of mine at the time. And it was originally, people are going to be tearing their hair out when they hear this. It was originally a GTI Engineering RE 1900 8 valve. And that is a GTI Engineering body kit. So that is the Aerotech kit, but it's been modified quite heavily. So if you look at it, it's got, they are Fiat Coupe fog lights and indicators in the front bumper.
I was just going to ask, what are they from? Because they look unusual.
So they're Fiat, but they're turned 180 degrees. They're upside down.
So they've kind of done a TBR thing then, haven't they?
Yeah. The headlights are from a BMW E36 with working angel eyes.
Oh, wow.
So I think they look kind of cool. I'd rock those headlights. You've got BMW M3 mirrors, and they were actually legitimately off of an M3. It's got the Audi A8 tilt sunroof.
And the door handle.
And the door handles. But it had the swage line delete on the rear quarter. Yeah, this car had been featured twice in magazines in different colours. So, like you said, Martin, this car was building the car, putting a load of work into it. He did all the work himself. He did the paint himself, mechanicals himself. And then, he would then take it to shows. It got featured. It was blue and it was orange, I think, when it was featured previously. It never actually got featured in this current build. It's got a BMW E30 dash in it, and it's got Vectra GSI Recaros in it. So, like you say, a huge amount of work had gone into it, but people look at it, oh my God. But do you know what? For me, I will always love that car. It had a G60 lump in it, and it had one of the first supercharged ABFs in the country when he swapped that out as well. Had to get a load of sort of bits over from the States to do it because people just weren't doing it over here, I guess, because the ABFs are still quite new engines. So, yeah, again, a lot of work went into that. So what do we think of this?
Whoa, I actually quite like it. That is an assault on the senses, though, isn't it? Wow.
Dave, you're awfully quiet.
I'm just I'm just thinking about how those fuel caps used to come standard on Mark II.
So again,
1995, good stuff.
Oh, look at it. That's Skeet Motorsport. Yeah, I remember seeing that at Max Power. He had like a bright orange shell suit on.
Dude, it looks better than the one you were just looking at. That looks good.
Mate,
I want to know how he managed to get. I want to know how he managed to get 220 horsepower out of an 8-valve motor.
Yeah.
Nitrous. There you go. 50 shot of nitrous.
Yeah, but where did
That's what Freddie used to do. Yeah.
It was all nitrous.
What do you do? Just twice?
Why not? It's just you look back at those cars now, and I think some people think they're a bit garish. Again, it's those bright, vibrant colours as well that look like a packet of opal fruits. Then we had obviously the Corrado from back then, and again, I mean that is, I think is that the cover of the album? I mean that just sums up the whole Max Power era, really, doesn't it?
I'd drive that today.
That looks all right as well. Yeah, that looks good.
I would drive that today.
I personally would see it's a Riga GTO body kit, isn't it?
I used to lust after Riga kits. Absolutely love them.
So I think you look at it now. I mean, again, how's that for you, Chris?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Actually, that looks
yeah.
Yeah, I like the Riga kits. They're really quite nice, actually.
So again, you look at it, and it's like body kits on Mark IIs are kind of they're getting more and more popular now. I think as people are looking back at that sort of nostalgia and saying, actually, you know what, that is kind of cool.
BBS.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this. Yeah, absolute car of the time.
Yeah, they look a bit crap now, though, don't they?
So for those of you who don't know, that is actually my car. So that is actually my Jetta. That picture was taken back in the I think back in the 80s by one of the previous owners. I currently own that GT Engineering Jetta GT Special. Took me 5 years to find it, and it turns out the guy I bought it off someone 3 miles down the road from me 18 months previously. So yeah, it came up for sale. I was fortunate enough to be in a position that I could afford to buy it, even though I just bought my Jetta Coupe 2 weeks before this came up for sale. So I jumped in the car, went down to Kent to pick it up. But again, it's body kits, it's wheels, I mean, you look at that, it's still cool. I mean, how about this?
Yeah, that looks really nice.
So again, it's a BBS body kit. And back in the late 90s, we were throwing those out. I remember there was a Mark II shell at my mate's workshop, the one who built that pink thing. And he stripped it to parts, and that body kit got scrapped with the car because at the time you couldn't give them away. No one wanted them.
The thing is, it's all to do with what's going on at the time. I mean, I got a friendly Volkswagen specialist who's been doing Volkswagens for 60 plus years, and there was a time where they were picking up Carman gears for like a couple of £100, throwing the bodies away just because they could use mechanicals to fix Beetles. And apparently used to throw 3 of these away a week.
But that's quite subtle, isn't it? I mean, it's not over the top. You can't go wrong with BBS body kits, as far as I'm concerned.
So what about this, Dan? Silence.
So is that like a Pandem bolt-on?
Yeah, it's a Pandem copy of a Rocket Bunny kit, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like those in a race series or some. You know what I mean? When they actually need. But yeah, you can't bolt those arches onto everything and it look nice. There seems to be a bit of a phase of that at the moment. But then I can't say a lot because everyone just says, "Well, you like Max Power stuff," because now it's considered cheesy. So whatever. But
the thing is, it's all to do with fashion, isn't it? You've been talking about what was acceptable back in the Max Power era. The fashions come and go. I mean, there was a time when it was the height of fashion to take all the paint off your car and let it rust.
Yeah.
And it all.
Oh, the rat look. We had that early on in the club. That was dreadful. People
used to. Someone
VW on the car and it was rusting away. And
I remember a magazine done it to a Mark I Golf campaign, and I was so angry at that. But that's what happens. I mean, at the moment, the current thing is air ride, dropping up as much as you can and putting camber and stuff like that. It's all to do with fashions. Everything comes and goes.
It's in the eye of the beholder as well, isn't it? At the end of the day. Yeah, that looks quite nice.
Yeah, it doesn't look usable though.
No.
No, it's obviously, I mean, that car had a fortune spent on it. Auto Finesse obviously built that as one of their sort of demonstrators, show cars, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that was on air. It had a big, it was a big 1.8 turbo in it, I want to say. And again, I think that was possibly one of the first cars that kind of really made body kits cool again in the mainstream, if you know what I mean. I didn't really remember seeing BBS kits and everything on cars until this one came out on the show scene. And I bought a BBS body kit off of eBay. I was the only bidder and I paid £200 for it not long before this car came out. And now people are charging, or people are asking £500-600 for a BBS body kit with bits missing. So yeah, I think this car has got a lot to answer for in terms of body kits being back in fashion. I think it's one of those. There's going to be those two camps, isn't there? I mean, Chris, you said you're kind of very, very fond of the original OE look.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, it was always about a bit lower, pretty much OEM. But I can understand why people go for heavily modified. But for me, I like a little bit of modified, but not too far.
I think I'd say my idea is always been styles come and go, but fast never goes out of fashion.
That's very true. That is very true. I mean, Dave, so you're just seem to be famous for putting V6s in Mark IIs at the moment.
I wouldn't go famous, but I've done a few in the past. I just like putting stupid engines in Mark II Golfs.
Guess what's next for your car, Dave?
Well, I'm in sort of new territory because for the best part of 10 years, probably a bit longer, I'd buy a car, I'd put an engine in it, all the big work was done, I get bored of it, someone will offer me money for it, I'll see another engine I want to fit, I let the other car go, then I start everything all over again.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder and harder to find nicer Mark II Golfs.
Yeah.
I mean, this blue one I bought it for 900 quid, but I actually travelled, I think it was about 40 miles shy of Scotland to look at a mint Mark II BBM. That was literally, I decided within 30 seconds of seeing it was a pile of crap. Didn't even offer the guy any money, just turned around, got in the car and drove home.
So do you think like the prices are catching up with like classic Fords? I mean, we're not quite there yet, but if you look at old Fords, old Peugeots, old Vauxhalls, the price of those rocketed probably 5-6 years ago.
It's
and is it because, well, that's it. Is it because they all rusted away and now actually our Mark IIs are in danger now, if not looked after, of going the same way?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, back in the day, like Novas used to be the laughing stock for a while.
Yeah.
Novas used to be like Saxos were for a while, where they were just like a chavvy car you'd see at McDonald's on a Friday night. But nowadays, they're a bona fide classic car because most of them have gone through hedges or they've been riced to death and rotting out somewhere. And you see one now, and it's usually a nice car. And you're just getting that, like, you get the same with Fords and things like that. But Volkswagens, you still see normal people, like an old biddy, driving around in a Mark II 1.3 or something like that. Because
I think Tim's right. I mean, he said, like, we've caught up to what Ford used to be. I mean, there was a massive discrepancy between the price of classic Fords and VWs. And I think it was Tim that said to me, I think was it GTI International or something like that a few years ago?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
He said, get one now because they're going to jump in price, and they did. And it's very, very difficult to get a decent 16 valve for less than £6,000 now.
So I guess, do you think, I mean, so I guess it comes on to like my favourite sort of pet hate, and it's kind of people using the word scene tax. So, because for me, it's a case of, well, people will pay what they're prepared to pay. But actually thinking about it, our cars are at least 30 years old, if not older. So these bits aren't being made anymore. So is it we've gone from people just trying to make a quick buck out of Volkswagen owners, or is it the fact now we've got legitimate modern classics that these parts are getting harder to find and they're starting to command a premium?
Yeah. I mean, you look on eBay, how many Mark II Golfs there are compared to 10 years ago, and it's the same with the parts as well.
Yeah. Well, look at what Mark IVs are doing right now. Right now, Mark IVs are doing what Mark II's done a few years previous, where they're being broken up. They're getting broken left and center.
Well, they're
dropping oil
bottom now. They're bottom at the moment, aren't they? You can pick up a Mark IV for nothing.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I bought one for 80 quid. Fixed it.
Yeah.
Put some brakes on it, stuck an MOT on it, and sold it for 600 quid. But like 80 quid, it was ridiculous. I couldn't actually believe I was driving away with a car for 80 quid. It's mad.
R32s are catching up though, aren't they? They're going up in price quick.
Especially.
Yeah.
Now's the time to get one if you want one.
I think I've kind of missed the boat on that. You know, when you look at sort of, because it would never be my daily, and I've got, you know, a number of Mark IIs. I kind of think if I wanted a Mark IV R32, which I do, I just think price-wise now, I think they're just, for a decent one, you're kind of knocking on the door of £8,000 upwards.
Yeah.
So it's like rallies, you know. I missed the boat on rallies massively because they were sort of £4,000 or £5,000 for a decent rally. And I thought, you know what? I'll get around to getting one of those, you know.
But they were very Marmite, weren't they, rallies? I mean, the styling. I mean, think about, you talked about body kits, etc. A lot of people said, no, I'd get D60. I'll get an edition 1. I'm not going to get a rally. But I mean, the question I'm going to ask is, what do you think about the prices? Do you think they're going to come down, or do you think they're going to keep going up?
Yeah, they go up now. They're only getting rarer.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those that you kind of. You look back when rallies were getting broken. I mean, God, the amount of rally headline conversions that seem to come up for sale. I mean, how many rallies have been broken over the years? So I think I'm probably massively wrong on this. Did we get like 500-600 SEs imported as UK rallies?
UK ones, yeah, with the UK speedos, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So there were never that many that came over, and from kind of the people I've been talking to, you now got it the other way, is that, you know, I'll go out to Europe and I'll pick up a jet coupe. Done it a few times now. Whereas you've got people from Europe coming over here now to buy those rallies and take them back to Germany. So again, I think, just we're a small island. We don't have that many rallies here. So if what we have got is then going back to Europe, I think as much as the price of it goes, it will always go up. But I think in the short term, we may have, like at the moment, we've got people who aren't working, we've got people concerned they may not be able to pay their bills. So they may have to sell their sort of second car, or so we might see a short-term dip in the price, because that's just how the world works. But in the long run, I think, like Dave said, they're getting rarer. And the fact that people keep taking them back to Germany means that, we're probably going to see the price going up even further.
You think it's a case of whether people are prepared to pay the money, if they've got the money? Because if they can't pay the mortgage, what they're going to do? They're going to sell the classic car.
Well, exactly. But I think if you look at things like the Lancia Delta Integrales, again, they got to probably 12 grand, 10 grand, and they're always a car I thought, when they're cheap enough, I'd love one. But then they didn't. It's like I blinked, and the same with Escort Cosworths, got to about 10 grand overnight, back up to 20 grand. I'm like, I can't afford that, So I think we're possibly going to see, rallies maybe in the short term come down, but long term they're getting rarer, like with the rest of the markets.
Oh, they'll go up long term. They're a good investment at the end of the day, aren't they?
Yeah, you're speaking from experience there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in some respects, I regret selling the rally, and I'm not going to rule out buying another one at some point in the future. But at the moment, I think the price is a bit too steep.
Which rally do you regret selling? Because you've had a couple.
Yeah, well, the pearl green one was really quite special. The black one had all the extra little bits on it, and that was a nice car. And luckily, they stayed in the UK, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot that can go wrong on those rallies. If you've got deep pockets, then absolutely fine. But it depends how much you use it as well. You know what it's like. You get an old VW, you don't use it, it's going to go wrong.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, out of yours, do you daily? I mean, under normal circumstances, do you daily in your Mark II?
Not at the moment. I did for a while. I did because I daily a Mark IV. Actually, I got an Annie diesel.
Yeah.
But for about 6 months, I did daily the Mark II for a while. I drive 60 miles a day, so it's not doing anything for the car or my pockets.
Martin, what about you? What are you daily in these days?
I got T5 now. got the family bus, which I'm slowly converting into a sort of half camper day van, not full camper. I don't want loads of cupboards and stuff weighing it down. But I dailied the Jetta for 3 years to work and back. That was enough, to be honest. It was it's an hour and a half each way for me, so it's quite a trek in the Jetta. It did me proud, mind, but I wanted to give it some love and give it the respray and the engine overhaul and stuff. So I bought myself another daily and then took it off the road and have it more of my show toy, if you like.
I know what you mean. Absolutely. I mean, so do you think, these days, are Mark II still a good daily? I mean, I look at we've just bought my missus a new car. She's had company cars for the last 6 years. So she had a Mark 7 Golf Blue Motion and then chopped that in for a Leon. And now the Leon's going back after 3 years and we bought her an Audi A3. And just the amount of kit on a new car, things like CarPlay, parking sensors, because, they're handy. But just everything, the heated seats, it's just such a nice car. Are Mark II still a sensible, viable daily? Or really is it now that more and more people are just keeping a second car or something that's a bit special?
Well, let's put it this way. How many modern cars, do you get out of and you have a huge grin on your face? You get that with a Mark I, Mark II, anything classic, you get out of it and you think, yeah, I like that. The comfortable modern cars, but at the end of the day, if you can daily a Mark II, do it.
I think it depends on the car and the journey you're having to do as well. Like me doing an hour and a half each way in the Jetta was fine for a while, like say 3 years nearly. But yeah, I got to a point where it was starting to feel a bit tired and it needed a few bits here and there. And it was a little bit colder in the winter than a more modern variant, etc. So yeah, and I wanted to give my particular one some love, and I couldn't do that whilst I had to be on the road for the next day to go to work. So yeah. But yeah, I think it depends on the car and the actual Mark II we're talking about, because there are still a few poorly ones about, and also the journey you're having to do, I guess.
So I guess with working on your own Mark II, dare I say, put your hand up if you work on your own Mark II?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, Chris. So I guess I think for me the big thing is because I have another car. That if I'm working on my Mark II, it's become more of a sort of joy for me, because if I get fed up, if I can't do something, and frankly there are times, and if Sam isn't about to bail me out, then it's kind of like I'll get really wound up. It's no longer fun, and I can just close the doors and I can go back in my other car. I can drive home, and I don't have to worry about it. Whereas if it was my daily, I feel I kind of probably have that pressure that if something goes wrong and I'm trying to fix it myself, if I can't get it fixed, then I'm not going to work in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly why mine decided to stop daily in mine, doing a water pump on axle stands in the winter out on the road. At the time, starting to do stuff like that where it needs to be on the road for the morning and you do it in the dark on your own, trying to
Thing is, there's the other side to think about as well. It's in December when we had our first flash freeze, I actually stuffed the Mark IV into a hedge on the ice. Now it was my Mark IV. I thought, oh bugger. Drove it to the workshop, picked my Mark II.
That was very polite of you, Dave.
Yeah. But if it had been Mark II, I'd have been heartbroken. I'd literally, like the year before last year, I'd spent over $4,000 getting the whole thing bodywork wise rebuilt from the ground up. It was now totally in. If I'd have stuffed that, I'd been crying.
Exactly that. Yeah.
But the Mark IV, my mates, to be fair, all my mates were brilliant. They all chipped in because all my mates have got Mark IV bits. I crashed it and I got it back on the road within 6 days because all my mates just threw Mark IV car parts at me, and I put the thing back on the road and I was dailing it again. But imagine doing it to a Mark II.
Chris looks horrified at the prospect of having to do work on your own car.
Yeah, well, you know me, Tim. I think we both have had Sam helping us several times. I remember Sam doing a heater matrix on the rally.
Yeah, he said never again, by the way.
Yeah, he said he got a nervous twitch after doing that.
Yeah, never doing a heater matrix on a rally again. I think it's just one of those, really. If it's fun and it's kind of you're doing it to get you, I don't know, a bit of space, just to chill out, then it's great. But if you've got that pressure that you've got to fix it, and if you don't, then you're stuck. You're not going to work. You're not picking the kids up or whatever. It gets a bit emotional, doesn't it?
I think you said it a little bit earlier, Tim, that, you know, most Mark IIs are getting to 25 to 30 years old or whatever now, and if they haven't had that love and that work done, then they're going to need some work to keep them doing. If it's a hefty daily commute, you know, and they're going to need a little bit of tinkering here and there to keep them going, unless you take them off the road and redo them completely. There's nothing wrong with, you know, they can keep up with modern traffic, all of that stuff. You know, later ones are power steering, all it's got some creature comforts, electric windows, whatever. But yeah, it's still a 30-year-old car at the end of the day.
Yeah. So with obviously, you know, Martin, you've got a red Jetta. Chris, you've got a white Mark II. Dave, bright blue metallic, and I've got an Atlas grey. What is the best Mark II colour?
Do we all say our own colours here?
Just to kick that hornet's nest. What is the ultimate colour for a Mark II car?
Why don't you go into a forum and just type 8 valve versus 16 valve while you're at it?
Oh, don't stop.
That'll do exactly the same.
So yeah, I think it's kind of why do people consider oak green to be the rare colour, the one that's worth the most money? On all the eBay ads, it seems to be the one people are rare oak green. Why are people so in love with oak green?
Well, I think it is rare, but you can't argue that it's any rarer than royal blue at the end of the day, because they're both night spec colours. But I'll tell you, my best car, Mark II, that I've ever had, that I should never have sold, was an original oak green G60. And that was rare, because there was 3 made in that colour. But you know, I mean, royal blue is equally as rare, truly, as oak green.
So I'm just looking at the comments on YouTube at the moment, and yeah, actually we've got some good ones here. We've got Helios blue. What do you think?
That's a nice colour.
Yeah.
We've got Atlas grey. So I have a Helios blue 16 valve, and that's what the track car is. And my Jetta's Atlas grey, so there's some love for that. Got some Tornado reds. Martin?
Yeah. Tornado pink is the best GTI colour, although mine is now red after all the work and put into it. But yeah.
Yeah. So do we think that oak green is all it's cracked up to be? Come on, let's
what you like, isn't it?
Yeah, I like oak green as a colour. I think in a full, well, in a GTI trim with, you know, oak green, and they look smart against the red stripe, etc. But like you said, it's not necessarily rarer than a couple of the other rarer end of colours.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, some people say it's a premium of £1,000 for an oak green, don't they? 16 valve. I mean, I don't agree with that.
Do you think it's because they weren't as popular back in the day?
They weren't as popular. It wasn't a popular colour compared to what, yeah. Alpine white wasn't a popular colour back in the 80s and 90s.
No, that's true.
Do you think it's because people associate with like British racing green?
Possibly.
Yeah, it could be.
Closest Mark II colour to that.
It is, yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, I think for me is I'd love to have an oak green, but I think for me it has to be, it's very specific. So oak green with a sort of cream, like sand or tan leather interior to complement the green, with a set of nice wheels on it that aren't BBSs. Sorry, Martin.
Well, at the end, Monza blue's a lot rarer, isn't it? You could argue that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are rarer colours than Monza blue, but I mean, for me, a Monza blue B-plate 16 valve.
Yeah.
You know?
Jade green.
Yeah.
There are some nice ones out there, and I guess wheel-wise. So
terracotta, isn't there a terracotta red?
Ooh,
that was.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. There was a Jetta coupe at Ultimate Dubs in terracotta tile this year. Complete poverty spec, just set of wheels on it. It was lower, and that was it. And do you know what? It looked really good.
What was your colour on your Jetta coupe? That was a rare colour.
So yeah, so that blue one was gentian blue. It's a weird one because it's actually a RAL colour. So so basically, if you look at that, kind of close your eyes and squint a little bit, and then think about those massive blue bins in industrial estates.
I was just thinking, we've got a fire door at work. That's that same colour. I'm sure of it.
You have. It's RAL 5010 is the colour code. So it's it's kind of. I don't know. I've seen a few Jesses in that colour, and I don't know whether that car was specially ordered for like the council in Holland or someone, why it would be in that colour palette, because it was a colour that was originally used on the Type 2 buses. So yeah, it's unusual to see that on a Mark II, but there's a couple out there. I've seen a couple of coupes online. I think it was a popular colour in the States as well. So
it's
yeah,
quite similar to Jazz Blue, isn't it? From that picture, it looks similar to the Mark IV Jazz Blue colour.
Yeah, that's probably the closest modern colours, Jazz Blue. Yeah, yeah, I really like that. So I'm just looking. There's some comments here. No, why no BBS?
Yes, good question.
So I think for me, I'm cheap, guys. Yeah.
Says the man with 27 Mark IIs. Come on, or whatever.
Yeah, but no, he's paid under the rate for all of them. He would have just the money for them.
Yeah, I just think for me, it's kind of it's a lot of money for a set of wheels. I mean, I've been a big fan of my tyres get low, go to a breakage yard, pick up a funky set of wheels with a decent set of tyres on, stick it on my car. That was me for a long time. The wheels on my Jetta coupe. So these ones, they were actually, I paid 80 quid for these wheels with tyres, the 195 50/15s. They were off of a Honda Civic in a breakage yard. They're ATS Type 10s. They are probably one of my absolute favourite all-time wheels, or all-time favourite wheels. And I think they're cursed, but I've had one set. So they're set on that coupe. I took them off the coupe when I sold it, and then they got stolen from my back garden. So they disappeared. Then I managed to track down another set on eBay that I paid about 120 quid for. They were 3 different colours because they're off some drift Volvo. I took them to a body shop, and that body shop went into administration, and I didn't get my wheels back. So there's crap. Yeah. So for me, they're cursed. I've got one in the barn. Yes, there's one of those just sitting there, just reminding me of my failure at managing to keep hold of a set of those wheels. So yeah, I think for me, there's a lot more interesting wheels out there than BBSs. They're a classic car and they look beautiful. But I think it's one of those that they're a lot of money now, and when I think what I could get for that money, I mean, you're talking to the guy who paid like, what, 180 quid for a mint 3-door J-plate driver with a Weber carb on it. So to spend,
how the hell do you get them so cheap in Swindon? That's what I want to know.
Mate, that was an eBay job. So this wasn't recent. This is how they were back then. I mean, I remember I sold a Atlas Grey 16 valve. I think it was a D plate. I want to say for 1,200 quid. It might have been 900 quid because it was to a mate. And that was back in 2002 or 2001 even. So again, if you look where we are in kind of 20 years, we've gone from the cars being throwaway cars worth a couple hundred quid to, like you say, a 16 valve now, you're commanding 4 or 5 grand upwards.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I mean, I remember when Shelley got her car, who's the club secretary, and we paid 300 quid for a 1 in 10 million Helios Blue. It had the original rainbow interior and everything. It was completely standard, beautiful car, and we paid 300 quid for it.
They're the ones to get coming up soon, because for some reason that year, so many of them rotted badly.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Tim's one. He got Eddie Peck. He bought that 1 in 10 millions with the intent of doing it up. It turned out right. Sorry.
Do you think it was that year when they kind of went from the Type 9Ts to the newer body style? Do you think that year that they had that crossover, those cars were particularly badly?
don't know.
There's no difference in production standards, is there? So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you look at, did they do something different to the body shells? It just seems that year of golf, or is it just golf from that year onwards, they've really struggled with rest. I mean, my GT Engineering Golf, my first one I bought, I took it off the road because it had a small little scab on the rear quarter, just above the sill, and one of the front arches had started to go a bit crusty. And at the time, I thought that was far gone enough for me to think, I'll just break it, stick the engine in something else. Because I thought, that's
scary, isn't it?
I thought that Mark II's, that's hanging. It's not worth it.
There's a lot of rusty ass Mark IIs out there now.
Yeah.
You just think, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I paid 700 quid for it with a set of seb rings in the boot as well. So I sold the seb rings on eBay for 80 quid with centre caps, because that's what they were before those days.
That's a lot more than that.
I've still got seven.
Yeah, I got seven.
But that's what they were worth at the time. So, I just thought, well, look, it needs a wing, it needs a bit of paint.
But you didn't put rally wheels in the advert. That's why it didn't go for so much. They're going for 450. Last time I checked, which was about 6 months ago, they're going for 450 quid for a set of springs.
Jesus, I think I've got two in the barn somewhere. So maybe I could sell them as rally spares or something. I don't know.
I'm just about to cut a set up. Oh dear. Yeah.
So no, I think I mean, what's kind of next? I mean, where is it at the moment? Obviously, none of us are going to car shows. We're all kind of stuck at home. If we look forward to next year, I mean, what are the shows next year that you guys are really looking forward to getting to?
National meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a case of at the moment, because it's the 17th to the 19th of July for the annual meet, but with the situation at the moment, we're just waiting to find out what's going on with that. So as soon as we know, we'll update people. One of my favourite ones, I know a lot of you guys don't go to it because it's quite far up north, it's Cheshire, it's Tatton Park. That is one of the best put together shows and the nicest selection of VWs, including Mark 1s and Mark 2s in the country. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Dave, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Like I said, I always love the national meet just because it's the Mark II thing and it's got a track now, which makes it brilliant.
Yeah.
To be honest, I miss Inters. Inters used to just do it for me.
Yeah.
Especially when they took it to Rockingham, that was absolutely all right. Yeah, you lost. You were only down to an 1/8 of a mile strip, but you had I remember they sent us out for a session at Inters one year, and they left us out there for half an hour. That's some absolute. It was like.
Was that on the handling circuit on the?
It was the international on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the end, I had to come off a lap early just because everything just got so hot. I was out there for so bloody long. It was awesome. It was brilliant bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know they keep having rumours they're going to bring Inters back, and obviously Automatrix are folded up now, so you don't know where they're going to go. But there was rumours someone tried to buy GTI International as a going concern in order to carry it on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what are you, Martin?
I'm not just saying it for a fact, but I'd like to go to the national meet if the dates work for me. It's always a tricky balance with my son's birthday on that similar weekend. So if I can do that, then I will. I'd like to do that and do the photos again. So I enjoyed that last time.
That was good.
Yeah, it was enjoyed last year. It was good. But yeah, then the usuals, the retro shows, Players Classic. I also, sorry.
Retro rides. I forgot about that one. That's cracking.
And the hill climb as well. It's absolutely brilliant. The amount of machinery that goes up there.
Yeah. So the gathering at Chelsea Walsh hill climb, and also the weekender is good because it's a good. It's got a little bit of an Inters vibe in that you can go and camp with your mates and all get around a campfire and have a few beers and all that stuff, which is all part of it for me. But I also like doing a lot of the van shows and bus shows and stuff as well. That's part of what I'm into and part of what I do a lot of photos of now, working for a couple of bus mags. So I do Van West, and I hope to get to a few more. had tickets for quite a few shows already this year, but obviously most of them have been cancelled.
Yeah.
Or postponed or whatever. So yeah.
Bristol Hops Fest. That's another good one.
Yeah, there's
Do
another
you know
one.
what? Do you know what? I'm not a fan of that. I think the last. No, I went a couple of years ago. Well, we went a couple of years ago, didn't we, Chris? And I think the club stand, we got stuck literally next to it was next to the donut van, so that was good.
Oh, it didn't help me that actually, to be honest.
But you know, it was a terrible location. It was basically, if you're not in the show and shine, then the club stands were either club camping or we'll just stick the day club somewhere that doesn't really make any sense. Whereas a couple of years before that, I think it was in a different location. It's fantastic.
And we had about 18 cars then as well. I think we had about 18 Mark IIs on the stand. But
so that year was really good.
Was that 3 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago? I remember coming along. Tim invited me, and I turned up as a day visitor and parked with you guys on the stand. That was a little bit hard. It was quite hard to find, actually, to find your stand because you were out the back there.
So yeah, I just think, I don't know. I think for me as well, it's the toilets are vile. I mean,
don't use the wash thing on there. It's like,
I think they just need more porcelain.
Come in. We've had Santa Pod. That's another good one.
Oh yes, Santa Pod.
Yeah,
that's
Santa
the one.
Pod.
Yeah.
That and Big Bang and VW Action. They're all cracking ones.
Yeah, I mean we've been
PCI Spring Festival.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I definitely want to do more track stuff. Going forward, I want to do more track days, more. You know, I've never done a quarter mile.
Me neither, actually. I haven't done it either. Castle Coombe. You want to go on Castle Coombe?
Yeah, well, I was booked in for Castle Coombe.
We were.
The track I was meant to be going out on track that day. So yeah, there's kind of. Make
sure your brakes are good.
Mate, that's spot on. I've got some DS 3000 pads and some Tarox discs.
What size brake discs?
They're 256s.
Yeah, I had a set of G60 280s, and I had the Frodo 2500s.
Yeah.
And I set fire to my discs and my pads, and I melted my center caps. Absolutely ruined them, and and had to change the brakes.
Nice going.
Yeah.
Don't say that because I've got Sam's wheels on that car at the moment, and if he hears, I'm going to set fire to them. They are coming off.
The problem with Coombe is it's a bit of a car killer because you get some real fast straights, and I mean you can get a good easily 120, 130, 140 mile an hour, and then you're presented with Quarry Corner, where you've got to knock it down, the most, 50, 60 mile an hour you can make it around that sort of thing. Yeah, really hard on your car and your brakes because you're always either flat out on the throttle or flat out on the brakes. So it is a car killer. And I've had to be told off many times, including my second bright blue metallic Mark II Golf. I ended up blowing up quite spectacularly. It was a 20 valve, and I was coming up towards Quarry Corner at about 120 mile an hour when a Conroe bolt decided to shear. Left me with about half a dozen holes in the engine, and sent me backwards towards Quarry, which was it was a fun afternoon.
Yeah.
But,
did you get a car around?
Well, I had to get it towed home, but it also then caught fire because all the oil left the engine block and went straight on the blue hot turbo.
Right, so I'm starting to see a pattern here, Dave. It's not the brakes, it's you. You're setting fire to Mark IIs.
I might have had a flare.
And that's why the prices are rising, because Dave keeps setting fire to
I keep using up the resource of Mark II Golfs. I did put that one back on the road, though. That one actually I fixed right up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dave the Destroyer. Yes, Shelley. Yes, he is.
Yeah, I do tend to Dave the Destroyer.
See, I think...
Thank you very much.
So I guess there's the big holy grail, and there's one, again, next year, there's a couple of things I definitely want to go to. So there was the Men in VW show in Holland. I want to get out to that one.
What now? Men
in VWs. Yeah. So MIVW has been one I've wanted to go to for a while. Obviously, it's worth to see. So I think, we should probably make a concerted effort to get out to that next year. And then, of course, there's the Nürburgring. And I say that just as Dave disappears for a piss.
Sorry.
So,
I had to get another one.
What have you got, Dave?
Oh,
You can't mention that. No.
Dave,
I'm not mentioning my name.
So Dave, I think, I mean, Nürburgring, you've been a few times. I mean, tell us about it. I mean, for all those people who kind of want to plan a trip to the Nürburgring, what are the things they should really consider, and what are the things that you kind of, you need to do?
Well, I've been going since about 2004. It's expensive. Whichever way you spin it, it's expensive, even if you don't smash your car up. It's not
how much is expensive? Come on, let's get some numbers out there for the people watching.
I reckon if you're going to go there and you're going to have a good time for about just under a week, you want about 1,600 quid.
How much?
Yeah.
Is that for the brothels, Dave? If you want to have a good time.
Yeah, he didn't mention anything about a car, did he?
No.
I just had a good time.
So what?
1,600 quid for a weekend?
Yeah, but it's about that. It depends how much you want to go on the track. Because if you start totaling things up, right, you want to drive your car there.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you're driving it nice, it's easily going to be 2 to 3 tanks there, 2 to 3 tanks back.
Yeah.
You think accommodation, you can do it cheaper, but we kind of like to stay in hotels because I'm old and I don't like camping.
Fair enough.
But a hotel would cost you anywhere between sort of £600 to £1,000.
Yeah, I suppose if you put it that way, yeah. So
there you go. That's banged on there. You haven't even got on the track at that point. All you've got is your accommodation and your fuel to get down.
And if you come off and you hit one of the
I haven't even got to that bit yet.
Yeah.
Then you got the ferry. The ferry to get over and back, that's usually 160 to 200 quid.
Yeah.
Okay, so literally you have got to Germany and you've stayed there. You haven't eaten. You're not allowed to eat yet because you haven't budgeted for food. But you're still looking on about 1,100-1,200 quid. Then you want to eat. So that's it's that area is the playground in the rich and famous. You get some really big boys go down there. So nothing's really cheap. Nothing in the area is particularly cheap. You do get some decent ones. I mean, there are lovely restaurants down there. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Have they got a Greggs?
I don't think so.
Yeah, steak
slice.
It's Germany. They do bakeries quite well down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to some bakery in Germany, and they had this weird little, this like roll, and it was topped with melted cheese and diced bacon.
That sounds brilliant.
Mate, that was my breakfast when I picked up one of my coupes from Germany. That was an eventful trip that was saved for another night. But yeah, literally, that was my breakfast on the way that morning. Literally went to some little bakery, got some buns covered in cheese and bacon, and that was peanuts. That was like probably about €1 or something. It was nothing.
Oh yeah, you can get. I'll tell you what's cheap over there is beer.
Yeah,
you can get like crates of beer for like €13.
Really?
Yeah. Dave, you're going to trigger Chris.
I used to regularly bring home 4 crates of Warsteiner. All the time. It's really cheap.
So we're at 1,200 quid for the Nürburgring plus some food.
Yeah. So put maybe another couple of £100 on for food for the time you're there. Let's say you're at sort of 1,100-1,400 quid. You haven't been around the track yet. So track access, depending on when you want to go. I always say like they have look at when the TF days. TF is tourist fair, so that's when you can actually go on the track. Usually Monday to Friday, 8 till 5. It's usually taken up with industry testing, which is great to go and watch because you get to see next year's cars being thrashed the hell around a circuit. Who doesn't want to go and see that? But usually during the week, you get like a couple hours in the evenings from sort of like 5 to 7. That's brilliant. It may sound like you've only got 2 hours, but it is good times because you don't have too many people there. And usually on a Sunday, you've got a clear day at TF, but there's a reason why the locals call it Mad Sunday. It's because it is absolute chaos. You don't get a clear run. You have to queue up for 2 hours to get in. Usually, all we do on Sundays is we go to one of the viewpoints and just watch carnage. Because what happens is everybody goes out, wants to thrash their cars. Someone goes wrong, smashes up, they shut the track for a bit, clears it off. Meanwhile, you get a huge backlog of cars wanting to go on. They clear it up, say, right, go, 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 and they go nuts and someone crashes again. And, you know,
that's not a cheap experience, they visit crashing at the Nürburgring.
No. Fortunately, I've never done it myself, touch wood. But yeah, if you look on, the prices are always changing, but if you stack it, especially if you're British, everything's on you. It's not your insurance. Somewhere in your car insurance, you will have, it'll state the Nürburgring or I think they call it, classify it as like a restricted public toll road or something like that.
No, so what it is, in most insurance documents, it says you are not covered for racetracks or one-way toll roads.
That's the one, yeah.
Because the only one-way toll road is the Nürburgring.
One-way toll road, okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think there is a normal insurance in the UK that will cover you for Nürburgring.
I was going to say, is there no track insurance you can get or anything like that?
Most of them won't do the ring. I think there is places you can go to get Nürburgring insurance.
But it's seriously expensive, probably, isn't it?
It's like 300 or 400 quid for a week's insurance.
Yeah.
So then hitting, you know, replacing sections of barriers is thousands, isn't it? So
we knew a chap who went down and smacked his car up, and it was $2.5 grand just to get him off the track. By the time paid for the arm code, paid for the shutting, paid for the recovery. Because you've got to pay for the recovery to get you off the track to the local ADAC centre. It was like 2,400 quid, and that was before he'd even looked at trying to fix your car or trying to get back to the UK.
That's mad.
Yeah, the Germans will charge you for every penny.
So would you say it's worth it then, considering what you could go wrong? Yeah.
Well, the thing is don't go chasing times.
Yeah.
Don't ever time yourself when you're out there, because all you do is you start thinking, oh, I can be faster through this bit.
Yeah.
You know, and then you start pushing yourself. Keep your eyes on your mirrors. If anybody's behind you, they're faster than you, so let them go by. Right. And just go out there and have fun. And that's what I do. And all I do is I video it. I put one of the little dash cams up, and when I get home, I'll take the time references off of that.
So what's a Mark II like in terms of trackability?
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. I mean, arguably one of the most fun I ever had around the track was in my old, it was another bright blue metallic. It was when I put an ABF motor in.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was brilliant because you just don't lift. It's better underpowered on the uphill sections, but you pretty much leave it nailed the whole way around, and it's just good fun.
Yeah, I've never done tracks. I've always wanted to track a car. I've always thought I'll probably bin it, or it's going to be too expensive. I mean, how did you get into it? Did you go?
I would recommend the Nürburgring as your first time. Some people do.
Well, Castle Coombe's difficult, though, isn't it? It's not an easy circuit.
It depends how nervous a disposition you are. If you are terrified of everything else, go for one of those experience days. Like 100 and some quid, you can drive a Ferrari or something like that. Drive that round at first to get used to what track driving's like.
Yeah.
Then, like I recommend, like you saw Tim put up the picture of the slip and grip track days.
Yeah.
They're really good. I think they're about 150 to 160 quid.
So what do you think about sort of Urbra then, in terms of what we pay for it, in terms of for a bit of track time? It's probably a good start into it, isn't it, really?
Oh, it is massive bang for buck.
Yeah.
I love it because it is great. It's a good way to introduce people to track driving.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a nice little tight handling circuit. Arguably, my car is kind of useless because I spend most of the time burning the rubber, which I absolutely love it. I've still got a set of track tires from 2 sessions there now. They're on the backs, but yeah, I usually end up smoking the tires.
It's a good introduction to sort of motorsport, isn't it? I mean, in a sort of easy sort of setting, if you will.
It is brilliant. You can't go too far wrong.
No.
You know, you see, when we had last year, you had a couple of people went wrong, a couple spins, but nothing really happened.
Nothing serious.
Got back on.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one of the reasons I love the meet, because you don't get idiots there.
Yeah.
Everybody goes down there. They're genuine people. You have a good laugh, and also there's nobody else on the track, so you can't crash into them.
And hearing those R32 engines roar as well is quite good. It's quite nice.
Quite intoxicating.
I mean, it's R32 engines. They haven't got any other R32 bits, have they? I need to get that out there.
Oh, controversial.
Yeah, no, I'm
Certainly not the brakes if they're catching fire all the time.
No, exactly. Or the four-wheel drive system.
No, you don't need four-wheel drive. I'd love to put four-wheel drive in a motor. I'd love to. But as long as you have a 0.2 when you Mark II, it's an R32.
Yeah. Is that right?
It doesn't matter if it's at an Audi or anything like that. It's an R32.
I'm pretty sure Audi didn't make an R32.
I know, but
Dave,
it doesn't matter. It's a 3.
what do you reckon? What do you reckon to an R32 rally?
Nowadays, I'd say it's more like sacrilege.
No, behave.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's two camps, isn't there? There's like OEM, and if you modify anything on a rally, it's sacrilege. Oh, there's the complete opposite end, isn't there?
In my point of view, it all starts off. It all depends on what you start with. If you've got a rally that's been butchered,
yeah,
and you bought one, someone's done mods to it and made it crazy or whatever. Yeah, go nuts. Why not? It's not.
But you've got your synchro system there as well, haven't you? So I mean,
yeah. I still remember photos of. It was someone. I can't remember what it was when he was setting up Q-Pain. There was a photo somewhere in his yard where he got a rally, put it on his roof, and chopped out all of the floor plan so he can make a four-wheel drive Mark 1. And there's a photo somewhere of a rally just literally sat on its roof while he was cutting everything out.
But they were peanuts. Yeah. That's the thing. It was so cheap back in the day.
Yeah, but they were $4,000, but you could get a Mark II 8-valve for £400. So if you think of it that way,
that's true. But it didn't have four-wheel drive in an 8-valve. I mean, I bought a synchro. So it was a black 5-door because obviously all the synchros are 5 doors. I picked that up. That was like £700. So in terms of Mark IIs, yeah, that was an expensive car. But yeah, I think it's kind of rallies have kind of seen this massive growth in price. So like Dave says, if you can get one that isn't going to win any sort of shows for being concourse, it's not standard, you're not detracting from the value of sticking a big engine in it, or just don't do anything you can't revert back to. So I mean, the good thing with Mark IIs is they're like Lego, really, aren't they?
You can just chuck the old engine back in.
Yeah, there's so many bits that you can take off other VAG group cars that actually, as long as you're not chopping big holes and things and altering the chassis too much, then actually it can all go back to stock if the price is right, can't it?
Mm. Yeah, but nothing can be undone nowadays.
No.
I mean, have you seen there's a fantastic body shop called Resto Shack, and follow them on Facebook. If you like seeing like bodywork porn, it is fantastic. Like these guys, you want to see, they've punted through a load of rallies. Actually, they do mostly German stuff, but they will restore cars and they'll like cut rust out, and they will fabricate their own panels to put in, and they TIG it all back together. And even before any paint, when it's still bare metal, you do not know that repair has been done. It looks absolutely perfect. And yeah, so
I guess the last big modification to a Mark II is the engine. So I think with everything that's kind of going on with terms of fuel prices and sort of parts availabilities. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on an electric Mark II?
I know why you're asking that.
I do one. As soon as the technology improves, I do one.
Oh, you're on that again, Dave. Oh man, do it. At the end of the day, VW are using the VW up motors, etc. And I don't know. I mean, a purist would say, "Don't do it, you'll wreck it." But I've got an EV, and I'll tell you, they're absolutely brilliant. I mean, if you don't want to pay much money for running around, because an EV doesn't cost you much money for running around, do it.
Buy Chris's Leaf.
And then I'm going to stick an electric motor on the rear of my car.
Yeah.
Ultimate hybrid.
But the best way of doing it is have a daily. The way I do it is have a daily that's an EV, and then just for your fun, have a classic.
But I guess, do you think that converting classics to electric is a good way to keep classics sort of future-proof and on the road? Because there's a lot more companies out there.
Yes and no. It depends.
I think give it 10 years, we'll all be looking at electric motors for our cars.
But it depends if they bring in legislation that you can't actually drive a petrol car within a city area, which is what they're thinking about doing in Bristol and Gloucester.
No one wants to drive in Bristol anyway.
No, it's overrated. But it will come to a point. If you look at the way everything's going, they're on about banning the sale of petrol or diesel cars. Is it 2040? You can't.
Yeah. Well, they're moving that forward now, aren't they? Yeah.
2035. Yeah.
So that means the demand for fuel, like fossil fuels, is going to go down. But at some point, maybe not in our lifetimes, but at some point.
It'd be nice to think that we could still drive our bloody Mark IIs without changing electric.
Yeah, it's the ultimate form. I mean, like I say, when things get cheaper, when batteries get smaller and motors get easier to come by, you can buy crate motors now. I think hasn't someone done it to a couple of minis? There's
Porsches and all sorts have been converted. Old 911s and everything, minis.
So there's a company in Swindon.
Yeah, split screens as well. Yeah.
So there's a company in Swindon that offer this electric crate motor. They built an electric Mini, but Volkswagen themselves, I think, are pairing up with a company back in Germany who are offering an electric conversion for Beetles buses, which is based, like Chris was saying, it's using the up motor, and I think it's the battery pack out of the the GTE Golf or Passat.
Yeah.
I
think Volkswagen have actually bought the company, if I remember right.
Yeah. So they're looking at offering that as an actual sort of drive-in sort of conversion direct from the manufacturer. So, and I guess as we see more electric vehicles coming out now, so we've got the new Up, which has got a range of, Chris,
150 to 160 miles, depending on how you drive it. So I just bought one.
So Chris has bought one. So you got 150 miles in was it 100 horsepower motor?
Probably about that, but it's 30. Oh god, it's about 33 point something kilowatt hour battery. So 0 to 30 is pretty quick, but it's not. I mean, the top speed's not very high, but I mean, to get around in it, it's fine. Yeah,
but it's like, I think it's one of those, as we see more Ups coming out and more electric vehicles coming out and more electric parts on the sort of used market. Yeah, are we going to start seeing a lot more people dropping these electric motors into them?
Well, yeah, if you think about it, that's where engine conversions come from. People buy smashed up cars and think, I'll be all up for that if I can get my hands on someone who's rolled up or something like that.
Yeah,
Dave, come on, it would be a Tesla, wouldn't it? It would be something with a bit more poke that Dave.
Ludicrous mode.
Yeah, of course it would. You can't go from an R32 spot to an Up motor.
Well, I've always liked the idea of a four-wheel drive Mark II. And I've never
there we go.
But maybe just keep the R32, but stick Lecky on the back wheels. And there you go. You got a hybrid. I can get into London for free.
But isn't that the way that the Golf R is going to go? Surely the Golf R eventually will become a hybrid. You'll have the electric motor as effectively a boost instead of like a supercharger or something. That's what Lotus are doing right now, isn't it? With the new models.
They'll probably use that as more of a tax dodge, so they can create a bit of a fire breather, but they'll get around the emissions by saying it's a hybrid.
Yeah. But as Tim said, they're going to be banned from 2035. No hybrids. It's only pure electric.
Okay. I didn't think hybrids were there. Well.
So is that only pure electric for new, like brand new? At the moment. Anyway.
So you're still going to get loads of petrol and diesel cars on the don't know about diesels, but you're still going to get a lot of petrol cars on the road.
I think Jeremy Clarkson said in 2039 he's going to buy 10 petrol cars.
That sounds about right.
Do you know Jeremy Clarkson? He's gone out, he's bought a field and planted like 10,000 trees or something like that. So he can do whatever the hell he likes and he's still carbon neutral.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. It's £1 a tree. So that's 10 grand for a clear conscience. That's not bad.
And if there's no more petrol, bioethanol.
No, I just, for me, I think it's, as much as I love sort of, I love playing around with old Golfs, and I think for me a petrol engine will always be the heart of what's in a Golf. But I think you can't knock an electric motor these days. I think with battery technology coming on along the way it is, I think we're going to see more, and I think it's only a matter of time till we see a good Mark II Golf electric conversion.
Can I just say though, they actually did build
It did, yeah.
a Mark II Golf electric, and I think it wasn't called the Ecomatic.
It was called the City
The
Stroma.
City Stroma.
And it did
So
about 20 or 30 miles, didn't it?
Yeah, 30 miles.
Well, that was
it's got
back in the 80s.
The front grille has got sort of a plastic box on the front that flips down that your charging leads in it. They've actually got one externally. It's been completely restored in BW's head office in Milton Keynes. From what I understand, they're actually going to be recommissioning it to get it back on the road. So whether or not they're going to put the GTI engine, the EF engine into it, or whether they're going to go with the original setup and just a different battery pack, I don't know. But from what I've heard, they're actually looking at sort of recommissioning that electric Mark II.
Get them to bring it to the national meet. Be good to see.
Damn right.
If you want to find out what's going on with that one, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but he used to be on Fifth Gear, or he still is on Fifth Gear.
Johnny.
Who?
Johnny.
He's got a YouTube channel called Car Pervert.
Yeah.
It's all electric, and he was talking about the City Stroma in one of his latest ones, and he's saying he's going to get a review on it when they get it back up and running.
Right.
So he will.
He's also on Fully Charged as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite prolific on YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always a good watch. So
what's your opinion, Tim? Do you think we're going to eventually not be able to drive our petrol, Mark?
No, I think we'll always have a place for petrol. I think it's going to be, because again, if you look at how old our car's going to be in 2030, we're going to have this sort of classic status, and they can't stop, retrospectively apply that. So
this is going to be like we're going to be on heritage certificate, aren't we? Effectively,
They might tax the tits off of petrol, but at the end of the day, they might discourage us from it. But I don't think they can totally outlaw it. No.
Wait and see.
We shall see. So look, guys, we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes now. So
people must be bored of us by now.
Well, do you know what? Actually, we've still got a load of people watching right now. So, guys, thanks for sticking with us on this. So, we've got people dipping in, we've got people dipping out, and the content is still going. So guys, look, I think the future of Mark IIs is in our hands, really. I think the Mark II Owners Club is kind of a great resource for owners. We've got the Facebook page, which is got 22,000 members.
A bit more than that now, actually, yeah.
And of course, you've got the forum as well, which I think Facebook will never be able to rival the forums in terms of being able to have a proper build. A build.
But it's the knowledge base, isn't it? You've got such a huge knowledge base there. And at the end of the day, a club is not just a Facebook page.
No, exactly.
I could talk for an hour and 40 on just a bloody forum alone. I mean, it's criminal that Facebook has killed most of them off, but you'll never rival a proper forum, because how often people say, the feature matrix is gone, or why doesn't this work? And on the forums, all the information's there.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to change with the times, but at the end of the day, it's important to have both.
Yeah.
So do you think the forum is going to be it's going to be revamped and go from strength to strength?
That's exactly what we're doing at the moment. So actually what's happening is, because the forum, as you know, is quite old now, and there's only so many updates you can do, we're using the PHBB software. So at the end of the day, what we've done is we're in the process now of rebooting it, and we're transferring over information such as that important technical information, people's build threads. I mean, Instagram's great, Facebook's great, I'm all for it, but at the end of the day, it's really nice to go on someone's build thread and actually look how they've changed and modified and progressed with the car. I mean, Eddie Peck's one from the it's lunch break one, and there's still a lot of people. It's not just old people; it's also young people as well that will still use the forum, and you've got to have both.
Shelley's also said the knowledge base.
Yeah,
brilliant. The knowledge base is great on there. I think Eddie's done a lot of that as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, quite frankly.
Well, I've got one question, and you might not know the answer to this. Why is his username Eddie Peck?
No, I don't know that.
Does anyone know the answer to that? That is a really good. Right, let's find out now. Is he on? He should be on. Is he not?
Is he
on?
watching?
I've not seen him.
No,
Why the hell is he not on?
I've not seen him in the comments. Maybe
Is this something to do with his hacker? No, sorry.
maybe his Mark V's broken down. I don't know. So look, guys, I think it's a great place to leave it. This has been a lot of fun. I think we should definitely do this again. So look, guys, thanks for joining me tonight.
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. That's really important for the YouTube algorithms. Get the word out. Tim's put a lot of effort into this.
So for all you guys watching, thank you, Chris. For all you guys watching, obviously, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Only 18% of viewers are actually subscribed to the channel right now. So guys, that'd be a great help if you could. Guys, look, thanks for joining me this evening. Thanks to everyone back at home watching as well. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get this to do. We're going to be able to get to do this in person sometime soon. Obviously, Big Boris has got an announcement of some description tomorrow. So fingers crossed, we can get back to the pubs and we can at least have some meets. Yeah. So Bristol meet back on. That'll be the one. So guys, look, thanks for everyone who's joined us this evening. And guys, it's been an absolute blast. And I will see you again soon.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later.